This world is out of balance. Spirits grow restless.
This is David Clayman. I'm reviewing Jade-Empire from BioWare. Jade-Empire is a kung fu epic RPG from BioWare, the same developers that brought us KOTOR. Instead of working on KOTOR 2, BioWare decided to work on their own original intellectual property called Jade-Empire. In this game, you're going to see a whole lot of references to Chinese mythology, kung fu movies, and a lot of the Asian pop culture references that have shown up in our culture recently. The great part about this is that anyone can get into this type of mythology, since the popularized kung fu mythology has been brought over with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Jackie Chan movies, Jet Li. Even people who aren't super into Asian cinema or Asian literature are really going to appreciate the type of things you're going to see in this game. It's also really nice to see a game based on a totally original intellectual property. Like I said in my written review, in Star Wars you're going to see a lot of stuff that has to conform to the Star Wars universe. I mean, there's just some things you're never going to see happen. In Jade-Empire you're going to see a whole lot of completely original ideas, and this really helps to influence how good the story is. You don't really know where it's going to go. You don't really know where it can go, so it's actually a little bit more interesting. Now, the first thing to talk about in Jade-Empire really is the combat. This is an action RPG. That means that you have direct influence about when you hit the character, how you hit enemies. It's pixel-based, contact-based damage. You can hit the A button for quick attacks, and then the X for more powerful attacks, and both of them together for an area attack. This works in turn with blocking, where only the powerful attacks can break through someone's blocking system. There's also your blocking, which stops most projectiles and most enemy attacks, although not all of them, and a really cool dodging system where your character rolls around the screen and can vault behind people. Best part about the action-based combat is that it's not only accessible, although a bit difficult at first, it also has a ton of depth. Everything like weapons, magic, and just basic combat is assigned to a different style, and all the styles are assigned to the D-pad. This makes the action really fluid, really intense. So every style has a quick attack, a charge attack, and an area attack. They just do slightly different things. I'd say the second most important element about Jade-Empire would be the story. Anybody who played KOTOR knows that the story was a huge part of what made that game great. Well, the same writers worked on Jade-Empire, and they did just as good a job with this, I'd have to say. In Jade-Empire, you of course have the good and the evil path, which is handled through the path of the open palm and the path of the closed fist. This isn't just good and evil, it's assigned to two different types of philosophies and two different fighting styles. So the closed fists, which is essentially evil, you have a Darwinian outlook on life. You only think about what gives you the most power, the weak should perish, and the strong will survive. So this doesn't mean that you necessarily want people to suffer, but if they can't take care of themselves, then they're pretty much worthless to you. Path of the Open Palm is kind of your more stereotypical moral system. It just means that you want to help people and you work towards harmony. There's also a neutral path, and the neutral path is really, I'd say, a greedy path. It leads to direct rewards for completing goals, and you're not really helping anyone or hurting anyone. You just want to get yourself the most money in the end. This also plays out to the very end with 3 separate endings, and they're all very different, and you've really got to see all of them to see how the game changes that drastically in the end. I don't want to give away too much about the story, but I just want to say that the evil ending is one of the most evil endings I've seen in a video game. Along with the story, there's a lot of side characters. You get what are called followers. You meet these guys throughout the story, and you can get them to join your team. Now, unlike other team-based RPGs, you can only take one into battle at a time, and you don't ever really control your follower. What they are is they kind of like a combat boost element. You can take your followers into battle one at a time, and you can set them to support or to active. Most of them have both choices. Some of them only have one. On support, most of the followers will fight alongside you, and they kind of act to distract the enemies away from you. So if you're being attacked by 4 guys, maybe 2 of them will start to focus on your follower. That gives you more room to maneuver and take out these guys while your follower occupies the other 2. Now, in the game, during combat, you have health, you have chi, and you have focus. Chi is what fuels all of your chi attacks, most of your support styles. So that's basically magic. Anytime you're firing a projectile, anytime you're summoning something, anytime you're transforming into a different animal, that's going to drain your chi, and for as long as you're doing that, that meter goes down. Chi can also be used to restore your health. So by simply hitting the white button during combat, your health starts to refill and your chi starts to drain. The focus meter is yellow, and that's basically used to slow down time and to use weapons. So anytime you have a weapon out, your focus meter is going to start going down. Or anytime you go into focus time, which is that gray, very slow boost, your focus meter goes down. Your followers, which I was talking about originally, can give you a boost in any one of these areas. Some of your followers will sit there and meditate and boost your chi. Some will sit there, meditate, boost your focus. Some boost more than one. When the follower's meditating, they're totally ignored by the enemies, so you don't have to worry about them dying. There's also a lot of story elements involved with the followers. There's romances, there's jealousy, everyone has their own goals, everyone has a background story. You don't have to pay attention to this, but if you want to talk to them, if you really want to pay attention to everyone, this really makes the story a lot more interesting and shows you why characters have the motivation they do throughout the unraveling of the story. One of my favorite aspects of Jade Empire, although not the most apparent, is the menu system and the leveling up system. Usually role-playing games are a lot of fiddling in smaller menus with items, health potions, mana potions, healing herbs, antidotes. All those things have been just completely wiped. So now what you have instead is totally integrated into the combat system. So when you're fighting enemies, if you pull off a more advanced combat technique, they're going to drop some essence, either health, chi, or focus, or sometimes all three, or sometimes a boost. So the better you fight, the better your resources become. Instead of pressing start to go into the start menu and then going into your items and selecting one, it's just all within combat, so it feels really streamlined. Leveling up feels just as good. There are slots for leveling up not only your 3 areas of character, which is mind, body, and spirit, there's also leveling up each of your styles. So if you decide that you really like just hand-to-hand combat, you can boost that style up all the way. The graphics and sound of Jade Empire are really amazing. You'll first notice the graphics in that the game runs incredibly smoothly for the amount of things that are going on screen. You're going to get into some huge battles before this game is over, and they all work really well. The only problem you'll find eventually is the camera will tend to swing behind some of the background objects, and this happens at really strange places, and it doesn't happen too often, but it's always annoying when combat's taking place off screen or you don't really have a clear view of what your character is doing. All of the environments look completely amazing. There are some loading times that are not as long as KOTOR, probably half as long as KOTOR, but they load into very large areas where you'll be doing a lot of interaction and a lot of battles, so it doesn't really feel that bad. All the characters look original, they're all very interesting. The women are extremely attractive, so that kind of helps to boost the romantic element of the game. All of the enemies are completely ridiculously out of this world. You're going to have gigantic elephant creatures, all of these crosses between animals and humans that are oversized and really impressive. The sound is actually probably a bit more impressive than the graphics, and this has to do with the fantastic voice acting. Every bit of dialogue in the game is represented through voice acting, and they really do a fantastic job.
All your good work. What say you to half of the silver that was in that chest?
It's not only well voice acted, it's dramatic, it feels like a movie, and it really helps move the story along. There's also a special appearance by John Cleese in a really humorous character that I think everyone will get a big kick out of. Jade Empire is an extremely impressive game. From the story to the graphics to the voice acting, everything about it really pulls you into the experience, and that's really what RPGs are all about. I didn't think that storyline-wise a game could get better than KOTOR, but I have to say I enjoyed this one much more. Everything's been amped up. The evil is more evil, the romantic elements are more enjoyable, and the storyline sort of has this unexpected element because it's a totally original property. Jade Empire is rated the highest game on Xbox, and we're a huge fan of the game in the office, and I think I'm going to be playing it many more times after this review is done.